Hello everyone, and I've spent a lot of the last couple weeks talking about this new rack, my new Caridina shrimp tank rack. We got 320s up here and 310s down here, and there's a few things I talked about in the last video that I said I did some improvements since that video was made, and I'm going to talk to you about those. So let's get into it. So these are now the UGF boxes, and you'll see here we have a layer of coarse foam at the bottom. Now, like I said, some of the guys have been helping me, like Leon from Shrimp Mania. He was telling me that you really need to put some foam in there, and I was like, man, with the soil I've been using, I never had any problems with that. So I was like, I want to do these tanks the same way that I'd done before that had success. Well, while I was setting these tanks up, my 10-gallon in the other room, my fancy Tiger Caridina tank with the UGF box and no foam in it, completely clogged up. And so I thought it was kind of funny. Within a day or two after Leon was telling me, you really ought to put some foam at the bottom of those. And I thought, well, I don't really think I need it. And then, just a couple days later, I'm glad it happened when it did, so I could see with my own eyes and believe it. So then I went ahead and took all these apart. Actually, while the video, the tank setup video was coming out, I was busy doing this. So the first and most obvious reason for the foam is that these UGF boxes, they have these grates on the bottom that are covered in little holes. Well, the little pieces of soil can get stuck in there, and that slows down flow. Even in a brand new tank and brand new soil, just by adding the foam, my flow has practically doubled out of these UGF boxes. And then the main reason, and one that might not be quite as obvious, is that because most people are thinking, I know I'm thinking, more soil in the box is more good. We want as much soil as we can stuff in there. But you really don't want more than 2 inches maybe of soil on top in the box. You don't want soil stacked on top of it, because that is where gunk and buildup can accumulate and cause bacterial issues and other bad things. You don't want an ammonia trap, because that's what a lot of the naysayers of these will say. They're nothing but an ammonia trap, and they get clogged up. And then you can have all kinds of disasters happen after that. Well, what we're doing here is we are increasing flow by first unblocking those holes in the grate and this really coarse foam. This foam is 20 ppi foam, which is the exact same foam rating as these aquarium co-op sponge filters, and look at how coarse that is. So that is going to let all kinds of water through. So like I said, the UGF flow rate, even in brand new soil, has practically doubled. So I guess in the end, it's better off to have less soil and more flow than more soil and less flow. And if it clogs up and you have no flow, then you have problems. So let me back up a little bit. I know most of my people here are probably fans of Neo Shrimp, and they're wondering, what the Sam hell am I even talking about with these UGF boxes and soil, and what all that silly stuff mean? Well, we use RODI water in these Caridina tanks, and that strips out all the KH, which is the pH buffering, because our Caridina need low pH to thrive and breed. So we use the RODI unit to remove everything from our water, all the KH, all the GH, and then we only put back in the GH that the shrimp need with our salty shrimp remineralizer. But what that does is, with no KH, it allows the soil that has acid and nutrients in it to buffer the water. Now, that soil is pretty expensive, and so what people have discovered is putting these in a UGF box like this buffers the water, uses the soil to buffer the pH down more efficiently, and while using less soil. I just have a little bit of soil, just enough to cover the glass on the bottom, and this soil in the box is doing all the heavy lifting of buffering the pH. Now the downside of this, like we talked about, is tank flow can be blocked and you can have ammonia problems with that. So basically, putting the soil in a place that has water flowing through it buffers the pH down for our Caridina shrimp more efficiently, uses less soil, and a lot of people will say you can get the pH down lower. I'm not sure. I believe it. And so this is the water reservoir, and I've made some changes to this as well. And this right here is where I hook my ROD line up to fill it up. I have an ROD unit in the kitchen, and I run the line in here, hook it up to here, open this valve, and that lets the RODI water in. Now, let me open this up and show you how this works in here. So then that goes down to here, to this. Now I haven't hooked it up yet where I can hook it up. There's a float valve in here, so then I'm not sure I trust it type of thing, you know. But now I just have a pump coming up here and an RODI fitting and adapter tapped into the PVC pipe, and it's capped. So the pump is pumping through there, up through this line, all the way up to our rack here, and into the tanks, to the float valves in the tanks. Now my original design had a bypass, and my first design but you need a lot more back pressure to fill up 6 tanks that are high up than you do one little 10-gallon tank. So I needed to make some changes, and so I've done it like that. And I also have an air line, because now there is no continuous flow. The pump's not running continuously, and for that there's an air line coming in to keep the water from going stagnant and aerated. I'm going to keep it aerated, and then instead of running the pump 24/7, I have it hooked up to a smart outlet, and this kicks on for like 20 minutes a day in the morning when I'm here. So then if something floods, or one of these valves in one of these tanks quits working, or something comes unhooked, and many things can happen for these to go wrong, and there's only water dripping out for 20 minutes and hopefully overflowing only like a little tiny bit, and not just running for hours and hours, not getting detected. So hopefully, so far all my top-up sessions have worked flawlessly, and the shut-off valves have all worked wonderful. So there we have it. Not a long video, just a quick few things I improved on from feedback I got from some of my people helping me get this going, like Leon from Shrimp Mania and Mark from Mark Shrimp Tanks. Can't thank those guys enough for helping me get all this figured out, because I understand the big picture. It's all these little nuanced things those guys have learned over the years that really can make the difference between success and failure. And so another huge shout out to those guys. And look at this. We got stuff growing on the walls already. I can't wait to get these things going and add some shrimps. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.